Welcome to the New Discovery Christian Podcast, where you'll find Bible messaging and sermons that will encourage, uplift, and challenge you to a godlier life. Join our community and become inspired to continue living a God-directed life.
We're back with the New Discovery Podcast and a part 2 in the new years of 2022. So we're going to kind of just jump in with our questions. We kind of just went over generally the resolutions that we have, some in the past, and now we're going to dive into a couple more questions. And so one of them that we've got is it biblical? I think it's a good question. Is it biblical? Do we have any principles to go off of in New Year's resolution? And so vaguely, they're principles in the Bible. One of them is you always hear about being renewed and the New Testament being new, and you're a new creation. And so there is a principle of bringing something new into your life and getting rid of Paul talks about getting rid of the old and bringing the new in your life. So there's some principles there. And more practically, I like what James says in the first chapter of James, where he talks about your character being refined in the fires kind of deal. And I like that because it implies that something's going to be uncomfortable. Me and Parker were talking just before this, and I've never been comfortable with putting my hand in the fire. I've never gotten delight out of that. And if anyone does, there's something that's probably not right. Probably you don't have nerves that are working correctly, or something's got to get checked. So it's applied, it's uncomfortable / it's going to hurt. But it shows that that's how we become better people. So I think there's a principle there of you're going to make yourself uncomfortable. This may even hurt, but it's to make you a better person, though. And it's to make your character better. To have a character, maybe there isn't much of a character going on. So that's one thing to go off of, I think, in the New Year's resolution. In general, making yourself a better person. Did you have anything, Parker? Did you want to elaborate on that at all?
On the question of is it biblical?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I like what you said about the new. I was trying to find. There's a verse in, I thought it was 2 Corinthians, but I cannot find it. But basically, so Paul talks about, well, it's what you said, but I guess I'll just have to paraphrase it too, where it talks about the old. Once we become Christians, like the old us is dead and the newness, we're made a new creature, basically.
Yep.
Now, to go back to what because in the last podcast, you mentioned handling your finances better, or like just for us in general. And then the second thing was talking about getting more sleep, or I think that was one that you had in the past.
That's one I had in the past.
So, to connect that to New Year's resolutions and is it biblical? I think it depends on the motivation, because notice when you talked about handling finances, you talked about spending it more on the things you love, right? So you're cutting out these things that don't really benefit your walk with God, right?
Yeah.
To say, and it doesn't really, and you're freeing up resources. Of course, we've talked like in private, like I know what you spend your money. It's on like biblical, stuff. It's like you're studying your study materials, all that. So it's for the beneficial. You're not.
But
you're not
getting drunk and
right.
stuff like that. And
you're not going to Vegas with it or Tunica here in Mississippi. But right. So you're using these New Year's resolutions as a way to become more like Christ, right? Same thing with the sleep. Well, if you get more rest, well, that'll help you then go out and share the gospel with people. Maybe it helps your mind be clear when you're studying scripture. And I think if that's the goal, then yeah, they're biblical. Now, to use the gym example, right? Because everybody's like, well, I'm going to get in shape this year. Now, obviously, and we've talked about this in a previous podcast about your health and stuff. Obviously, it's good to be healthy, and it's, I would argue, biblically to take care of your body. But if your end goal is to post your body all over Instagram, and that's for guys and girls. I'm not, both do that.
Both ways there.
Right, like if your goal is for like attention, or it's all about your pride, well, then that obviously would not be biblical. So I think, to I guess wrap the question up, like, is it biblical? I think it's going to depend on what's the end goal. Like, is your end goal to please God and to glorify Him? or is your end goal to, glorify yourself? And I think depending on the answer to that, is going to kind of give you the answer to the biblical question.
Yeah, I really like that. And I think some of it, I'll elaborate that on a little bit, because I've always found that your action may or may not be ethical, dependent on your reasoning. Your reasoning is very important to why you do something. And someone may say, well, an action is an action. It never matters. Well, the context does matter, because I could tell you, what if I just told you two different people had a knife in their hand and they're about to stab a pregnant woman in the stomach? You would say, oh, that's horrible. Well, what if I told you one of them was a doctor and they're doing a C-section? What if I told you one guy was trying to murder the baby?
Right.
Okay, now the motive just changed what's happening here. So why you're doing something matters to your actions. And I like what you said, because some people have two different views on the gym. I'll just say working out and exercising, but the gym as well. And both of these people have a point, but both of them get messed up in their perspective, though. And I've met people on both sides when it comes to this. One of them is, I'm going to go to the gym to get healthy. But really the real mindset is, I'm going to get big buff and I'm going to go to the beach. And I just kind of want to incite jealousy in people. And I'm going to post Instagram pics. Yeah. Right. And that's the motive. And then they kind of may slide into it's for healthy, but it ain't really to be healthy kind of thing. And the people who don't want to exercise will use that as an excuse not to exercise. And so there's a point, but they miss one aspect, is that's not why everyone goes to the gym, though.
Right.
It's kind of like what we just talked about. I personally go and I exercise so that one of them is you get something called a runner's high, which I guess that sounds bad, but the reason is it clears your head, though. It really does. Like today, I exercised. Did I enjoy every last bit of doing an exercise at 6 a.m. today to get ready for the podcast? Part of me was like, no. But I did it because I knew I wasn't going to come in here with a clear head, and I wasn't going to be able to think through these questions. I wasn't going to be able to talk and engage the way that I can engage, because Kyle ain't going to be here. Kyle's going to be like on Pluto or something like that. And I don't want to do that. I try to do whatever I do with quality to the best of my degree. And that works that way with teaching that I do. That works that way if I'm going to preach something. That works that way if I'm going to engage with people, especially if it's going to be a high intensity engagement. I need to be ready mentally for those aspects. So, and that's just one aspect of working out. That has nothing to do with the way my body looks whatsoever.
Right.
And personally, I only go so 2 days out of the week, I don't go to the gym. I don't do heavy lifting. I literally would just go run. Has nothing to do with muscles, nothing like that. Because some of it shows that if you do long distance running, you may lose muscle. So it has nothing to do with muscle. Do some research if that's actually true, maybe. But I do it just so I can clear my head for that day, just to get rid of that bodily stress that's inside of me. And that's a true thing. You can look that up. Your body holds stress. It holds it in your neck. It holds it especially in your neck. It holds it in your head. You can get pressure headaches. So that helps relieve a lot of that stress. We have to deal with a lot of stuff every day. Even Jesus says, you're worrying about all these things, but it's like, man, focus on today. There's plenty to worry about. Let tomorrow worry about tomorrow. I'm paraphrasing Jesus, but it's like one of those things. You got plenty of stress on you. So just getting rid of that bodily stress so I can focus on these other kind of stressors. So it's not feel overwhelmed. That's just one aspect of working out. Now some of it is, I like what one guy said. He said, I think every guy needs to be able to lift and throw heavy crud. And I believe in that too. I think, you don't want to be, as a guy, you don't want to be a weakling. Well, I guess that's one of the things. Be someone who's able to lift things, move things, get things done. Defend yourself or defend levels.
Yeah, and that increases
just to that level. That doesn't mean whatever you look like. It's just whatever that is for you. Everyone comes in different body shapes and stuff like that. So I ain't going to get into all that. Yeah. But that's just a principle in those two things. Get rid of bodily stress, that aspect, and But what is your mindset though? See, that's my mindset, right. And I think getting back to the question. That's my mindset on things. There's some people who have that mindset. And I think that's a good reason. I think those are valuable reasons. And that's not even getting into what good for your cardiovascular system, for your heart. You can get into all that too. What is your reasoning behind what you're doing? I do it for confidence too. Confidence for what though? Confidence in teaching, confidence in what I'm doing right now, confidence in engaging with people, saying things that I wouldn't be willing to say, good things that if I wasn't confident in myself. Now, someone can be confident and do terrible things. So that's why the heart matters in all this. So it's not confidence to post all those Instagram pics or whatever. I feel it's like confidence to get on stage and say what needs to be said for God's word, confidence to do this, confidence to engage with new people or in things that God wants you to do. And so I found that as value as well.
Yeah, I will say this just real quick on the biblical question. Now, I don't think anybody actually does this, what I'm about to say, but just in case, I do think one instance where a New Year's resolution would be unbiblical is if it's like, say it's in June, okay, and to use an extreme example.
Middle of the year.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, well, I'm going to improve my life starting January 1st. And I think the problem with that is, well, I know it says it in James where it talks about, well, our life is but a vapor, right? So, and the same thing, it's in Psalms 90. And I think, pretty sure Moses wrote this one. Trying to find specific where that is, but he talks about us numbering our days. Let me see if I can. Yeah, so it's Psalms 90:12. It says, "So teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom."
Yeah.
So I think the only, which, like I said, I don't think any. I think what most people do is like, well, I'll just start that next Sunday. What, start of the week or the start of the month. I don't think anybody actually waits half a year, but.
I don't know.
But I guess we should cover all the bases.
Yeah.
I would argue that wouldn't be biblical because we don't know what tomorrow might bring, right? So if you're able to do good today, then do it today. Don't wait until tomorrow.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. That's good. The last question that I've got is, do you have any advice for people to help make resolutions actually become a part of their lives, not just a silly gimmick? Do you want to start off on that, or you want me to start off on that one?
I can.
I may get going and just cover it.
Yeah, no, that's one. Yeah. Well, I will be quick then. Yeah. So I guess one thing biblical wise. So all right. So the question is how to stick with it, right? Yeah.
How can people make this just a part of their lives, not just a gimmick kind of deal?
Right. So I think there's many ways. But I think one thing that I like. So this is Proverbs 12. 26, and I mean, this is throughout scripture, but just to pick one, it says the righteous should choose his friends carefully, for the way of the wicked leads them astray. So I think one way would be to surround yourself with people that are maybe like-minded, maybe would be the word. And I think today, now I would prefer you to do this like live in person, like we're here. Maybe you can get away with it on like a Facebook group or something, something that
it probably
maybe holds you accountable. It's not going to hurt. Definitely not going to hurt. I think the preferred way would be in person. Yeah. I think we're social creatures, and that's what we need. But I think that would be one way. I think another way, and we talked about this. I think we talked about it earlier in this podcast, but I know we talked about it in the last. Is to kind of just start small, kind of bite-sized chunk, like just to stick with the gym example, like you don't have to go in there and do some 2-hour workout to where you're crawling out of the gym, like just because you're mentally you might not stick with that. Now, if you want to start out strong, by all means, but do something that that you're going to be able to consistently meet. Because one thing that I like, or an example that I always hear used, is if you look at like baseball. Now, I'm not a baseball guy. But if you look at like the batting average for like the Hall of Famers, I think it's like 30%. I'm maybe higher than that, but somewhere around 30%. So like in other words, they're getting out 7 out of 10 times, right? But they're still Hall of Famers. And I think if you set that up, like if you look at a week, you have 7 days in a week, maybe whatever that new habit is, or new, we'll say life change. I think habits sometimes can be good or bad, but whatever that beneficial life change is, maybe just if you can do it, maybe maybe more than, I will say 4 times out of 7. So that would be the majority. Like maybe just start out small, just to kind of get some momentum.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the last thing, and I remember, so my pastor gave me this book. I forget the name of the book. I mean, it wasn't like, it was just a small book, but he gave it to me whenever I graduated from high school. And one of the things, the guys that wrote it, his name's, was John Maxwell, I think is his name. So he's used to be a pastor. He basically, now he kind of goes around and trains businesses on leadership and stuff, kind of that genre, I guess. But one thing that he said that I really liked was, he talks about success is a journey, not a destination. And the point that he's getting at is, like, it would be like, are you successful if you don't? So say you're running, maybe you want to run some, like that's your New Year's thing. Okay. Like, are you successful if you don't win the gold in the marathon in the Olympics? It's like, well, obviously not. Like, that's kind of extreme. Mm-hmm. So what the point he's getting at is, like, you're successful the day you strap up your shoes and you just go run first time. Like, that was the moment you became successful. But you're not going to see the benefits of that until way down the line, right? So the kind of the mindset is, like, it's not that you failed, it's that you're not basically you're going to see these landmarks on the trip, and these landmarks are going to be what people are going to call success. Like, that's what I don't know who said this, but they said I worked my whole life to be a overnight success. And the point being is, like, nobody sees all the work you put in before that. Instead, they just see the end result, or not really even the end result, but the progress leading up to it. But that's one thing that really helped me as a new grad, especially with, studying for college and stuff, and, working the Dollar Generals and, all of that, just kind of, building up to it, is to understand it's like, well, as long as you have your plan, and as long as you keep taking one step at a time, mm-hmm. assuming each step will actually result in the end goal, then you can't like logically you're going to get to your end goal. Right. Yeah. So I don't know, that helps me, but biblically speaking, I think, and one more thing to put it in for biblical perspective, this is Proverbs 13:20. This is one of my favorite verses. But it says, he who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will be destroyed. And this kind of ties back into what we said earlier in Proverbs 12 with your friends. But I think another thing that has really helped me, and this is why I'm big on reading books, is because the thing with books, and I mean, today we have podcasts and we have all kinds of things that you didn't necessarily have to be a book. But you have access to people that are a lot wiser than us, that you can learn from, right? And it doesn't have to be somebody in your own time period. Like, it can be anywhere throughout history that has, penned a book or maybe made a video or whatever. And I think, and I guess that kind of ties into, surrounding yourself with like-minded people. I just think that helps. One, hold you accountable, but two, to give you the motivation to kind of stick with it and to make it an actual lifestyle. So, I don't know, that's my thoughts. What's yours?
I think that's really good. The way that you put it when it comes to resolutions, and I guess it kind of makes me think about with myself. With resolutions and why you do them. I guess there's one aspect that I kind of think of that can help you with resolutions. One of them's called, when it comes to habits, I like what one guy said is, because it's hard to start a habit, it's really hard to get into that motion, mm-hmm. and to stick with it. So there's a term called stacking. And so what that is someone may think, what is stacking? So if you already have habits in life, right? If you're a human being, you do certain things that you do every day. Yeah. I assume you go to the restroom. I assume you breathe. I assume you eat. And I assume you drink if you're alive. At least the minimum. So I'm guessing there's more on top of that. Yeah. I assume you sleep too. So Now, you may not do some of these other things, but I'm sure you do some other stuff on top of that. So what you do is you pick one of those things. And if you want to start a new habit, make a connection with the habits you already do. And so someone's probably like, what are you talking about? So one of the things that I do, that I've started to do is if I go to, so sometimes I don't go to the gym. Sometimes, just for context, there's a track in town and it has pull-up bars, all this different stuff that you can do when it comes to body weight exercises kind of deal. Pull-ups, dips, whatever you want, some things that you climb, stuff like that. And so that really, a lot of that body weight can really help you when it comes to certain exercises you just can't do when it comes to free weights. So sometimes I go do that. So I do run, go do that. So, but the part of stacking is this though. When I do that, there's a laundromat right in front of that area. I do my laundry. I do that. Go pick my laundry back up, go back home.
Yeah.
I just took, and then if I need to do groceries, it's perfect aspect because on that trail, there's a store. So you just worked out, you just did your laundry, and then you went to Walmart and you got your groceries. So you just took care of exercising, laundry, and groceries. So I can go even further though. I'll do that, pick up the laundry, and I'll at least once a month, but usually it's twice a month, and sometimes even 4 times a month, I'll wash my car. So it's not very expensive. It's just like one of those places you pop in $1 kind of thing. You just need to get there and do it kind of thing. So guess what? It's right there in that same zone. So work out, do the laundry, drive right over to the car wash place. You just wash your car real quick. You're already out. You're already doing it. You know, it's not one of those things where you're going to throw on your clothes or whatever and then grab whatever you need and then go out and then you're going to turn on your car. So you're already in the motion. You're already doing a lot of action. So that action bleeds into that action, bleeds into washing your car, bleeds into getting groceries, bleeds into going home. So it's not, two birds with one stone. It's 4 birds with one stone kind of thing. You just took care of all of that and just blew it all out and you're done.
Yeah.
So that just freed you up with the rest of the day with other things that I need to do. And that could bleed into a whole bunch of other things too. But that's a good example though of stacking and getting that done. Another example of stacking that I have that I can think of would be so when I brush my teeth, one thing that I always do is one of the things I wanted to get, I think I had a resolution to make sure that my bed was always made or something like that. So I want to make sure it got done. So one of the things that I do is I don't do it as soon as I wake up. I notice I'll do it if it's a part of another habit. I notice I will tend to keep a habit if it's connected to another habit. It's much easier because you already do that other habit. It's already established. So it makes it much easier. That's established. So when you're doing this other thing, it just bleeds over into what you've already been doing and becomes natural. So when I go to brush my teeth, one of the things I do is, what are you busy doing brushing your teeth? I can still walk around. So what I do, first thing that I'll do is I'll walk back in my bedroom. And so one of the things I'll do is I'll take my sheets, I'll put them into my closet. So my hands are free. So I'm brushing my teeth. It's just as easy as let me let go of my toothbrush real quick. I'm not busy doing a whole lot right now, but brushing my teeth. So I'll grab that, take my pillows, I'll take it off my bed. So half of what I do with making my bed is done at this point. Put the pillows off aside, fluff them, that kind of thing, make them straight. Now I hadn't straightened out the sheet though. So what I'll do is I'll go back, finish up with brushing my teeth. So half the job is done. I've already gotten going. I'm going to complete what I did. It's already gotten started here. So starting something is usually the hardest part. So the hardest part's done. I just go back over, take each corner, fold it, you straighten it kind of thing, put the pillows back. I'm done. But so it just made that stacking made it so much easier. And now I got it done. It wasn't like I'm going to pull more time out to go back in there and I'm going to do all of this. And so I do something similar when it comes to folding my clothes and putting them away. There's something similar to that. So I'll let you just kind of think through that. But I do similar things like that. Same thing when it comes to one more example I'll give is Cleaning that I have is when it comes to when I'm making something, making food or whatever, instead of making a certain designated time to clean my dishes afterwards, I clean as I go. So as I'm cooking, I have freed up time to do a little cleaning, and then I'll go back to cooking. So I don't want something to burn or whatever, but I'll go back to cleaning, do this, go back to cleaning. And so by the time I'm done cooking, 80% to 90% of everything's clean already. So when I go back to clean, it's like, it's really nothing. By the time I go back to clean, it's just like, it's really just the pans at that point to just clean, and that's it. So most of the cleaning's done, ain't a big deal. And everything's done. It's all cleared up because of that stacking. I made cleaning and cooking the same thing because I'm already going to cook. So let's go ahead and just clean. And so it made it much easier to do it at that point and with the habits. And that, I would say that's a good recommendation for people is the stacking method. You'll notice that it'll stick a lot better long-term because you already established those other things, and now you're establishing something new with something already established. And so there's a good chance that it's going to just become a part of your life at one point. So that's just my 2 cents on it from someone much wiser than myself, which it certainly worked with me and worked with him, I guess, and other people, because I think I learned it in school. So, it made it there. So apparently it works to a certain degree, at least. So, but yeah. Did you have anything else?
I did not.
Okay. That's all we got today. So thank you for joining in with this podcast for the New Year's. And I hope you guys have a New Year's, Happy New Year's. And if you guys have any resolutions, I hope they become fulfilled and resolved. I guess no pun intended at the end of the year. And just thank you again for joining with this podcast. We're only here because of you guys and, kind of just the relationship we have back and forth with you guys. So thank you for joining in, and we'll see you guys on the next one.